Hello, people, and welcome back to another episode of Clubhouse with me, Ben.
And me, Josh.
In this week's episode, we ask ourselves, did Mr. Beast violate the blind?
We also talk about the cost of living crisis in the UK.
And this week's topic of the week is climate change. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe. We'll be releasing a brand new episode every single week.
With that being said, let's go.
So, have you seen the Mr. Beast controversy?
Yes, I have, which I'm actually quite highly annoyed about, the fact that that's like even a controversial topic. Like, why he's even had backlash over doing something which is quite like his character and his channel. Like, if you watch the channel for a long time, he is like a very philanthropist, like driven YouTuber and helping other people out.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen it, he basically released a video the last week or so where he cures 1,000 blind people. He pays for their procedure, which basically gives them sight again.
Yeah.
And do you know what's crazy is I didn't know that like a large portion of people that are blind could actually be cured. It's simply mostly just unaffordable for people.
Yeah, it's just that 10, it's like a 10 minute
operation.
process.
Yeah.
I think what the actual process is your iris gets cloudy. It's like a cataracts, they call it. So the machine that the doctors use, like, is a tiny vacuum sort of clears the cloud, and then you have your vision again. But so what the controversy is that people feel, and again, I don't know how to put this, but like controversy has become such like a word that's just given to like anyone that disapproves these days. I don't even consider that controversy, but it is all over the news as controversy. But it's not really controversy. It's just people on fucking Twitter moaning, isn't it? That's all it is. It's like the controversy would be if all those blind people that got their sight back came out and said, I didn't know he was putting it on YouTube. I feel exploited. I feel used. That would be it. But just to have people that have nothing to do with the situation moan about it.
I suppose it got a lot of negative backlash for that reason. Like, people felt that he was exploiting vulnerable people. And it kind of, it's popped up before this question. I think this was on a bigger scale. Like, giving 1,000 people sight back is a crazy thing to be able to do for people. And 1,000 people is a lot of people. But like before this, you'd see a lot of those videos where people were giving homeless people like $100 and filming it right in their face, and taking them to buy food, but filming the whole thing. And it came to that question. It's like, yes, you're doing something nice for somebody. However, is it moral to film it for personal gain, views? Because I suppose they're in the same category, aren't they?
Yeah, I believe they are completely in the same category, but you just need to use your initiative and analyze like the bigger situation. Like, this person specifically, it's Mr. Beast, mate. He's like the most popular YouTuber in the world. He doesn't need to exploit anyone for monetary gain.
Yeah.
He's got it all.
And the way I was looking at it as well is the money he's made is from creating videos, and a lot of his videos are giving back to people. So it's just like, I think it's like this positive feedback loop where, yes, he has filmed it and put it on YouTube, but the money he makes from that video is very likely to be used for his main channel, which is mostly videos of him doing good things for people, and then his other charity channel. So, but it's funny though, because the Mr. Beast one I could get okay with, but then I don't like the ones where people give money to like a homeless person and film it and that.
No.
But it's the same thing. That homeless person or whoever it is, that person in need, has received something that will probably benefit them. And the person probably wouldn't have done it if they didn't film it. So again, is the net benefit that they got something that was good for them or that helped them out in that situation? It just felt wrong for me. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the right and the moral thing to do is to discuss with that person to say, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm a YouTuber. Can I put it on YouTube? Like, do you have a problem with that? Yeah, I do have a problem with that. All right, don't worry about it.
Here, take it anyway.
Here, take it anyway. Like, you would hope that the better outcome would be someone sees that and goes, that's a really good thing to do. I'm going to go and do that.
That's 100%. It's like, I have more people start, yes, they may be filming it, but has it led to more people giving charity to people in need? And therefore, if it has, is it a net positive for society? It's a funny one, isn't it? It's like selfish motives, but lead to a positive action.
Yeah.
So
And curing people's blindness, like
that's crazy. Like to be able to do that for 1,000 people.
all over the world as well. He
Yeah,
proper hopped
yeah.
across countries and, you know,
I thought it was amazing. Like I seen it, I thought that's amazing. Like it's nothing this guy isn't doing now. He's kind of curing the blind, feeding the poor. I was so gutted when I seen the.
people moaning.
But then I was like, actually, I've thought before about the smaller videos. So am I a hypocrite? Just because it's Mr. Beast, is it okay? Whereas if it's a random influencer, it's not okay. But yeah, it's a shame it kind of got negative negative
Like connotations
feedback.
off the
And
back of
yeah,
it.
yeah, because I think overall it's a net positive.
Yeah, but like you said, like that money does have to come from somewhere.
Somewhere.
So the site, it's like all within the same cycle. Do you know what I mean? And he's been very vocal about, you know, how much money he actually keeps for himself, and he's not one of those who lives like a lifestyle
No.
that's lavish, that's, you know, driving sports cars and fast cars.
Yeah, yeah.
He is very entrepreneurial in the way that, and driven in the way that it's just all goes back into the machine that he's built. So I just think
it's hard to question that he only had good intentions. Like I don't
yeah.
like exactly what you're saying. The lifestyle he lives, what he's built, how he's built it, what he's done with all the money he's earned so far. Yeah, you can't. I don't think you can question whether or not he had good intentions.
And I think another thing as well that like I came to the conclusion of when I was watching is he shone a light on how accessible, which you brought up before, that procedure is, and how fixable it is for such like a small minority of people and money that's needed for it. So do you have a go at him, or do we need to look at the broader picture and say, why is people suffering in a society where they pay their taxes, they're tax-paying people, but they don't have enough money to pay for a simple procedure that can fix their sight? So do the government need to be like looked at and say, what's going on here?
That's exactly the point I think that people should have picked up on. Exactly what you just said. Not that Mr. Beast made a video about it. That there's treatment out there. A 10-minute procedure. How much can a 10-minute procedure cost? Where it's unaccessible for the majority of people that could that needed that procedure. So that's what it should have really highlighted. And I think some people did pick up on that. Do you know what I feel like it is sometimes? People reacting to these news events for views. So like people provide negative comments and put videos out there saying this is outrageous. It's exploiting these poor people because they know it's going to be a viral video and they know that if they put out a negative response to it, it's going to get views.
It's a good take. You can piggyback off his name.
Can piggyback off it, and it's such a shame because he's doing such a good thing, and then people are like, I'm going to exploit this. I'm going to exploit his viral video, put out a negative response video to ride the wave as this video goes out there.
I've seen that actually. Like, well, now you've brought that to my like forefront of my mind. I've seen people talking about it, and they really aren't depicting it. They're just talking about it. You know, have you heard the Mr. Beast controversy explaining this is exactly what it is? Kind of what me and you are doing now in a 40-second short, and having like hundreds of thousands of views. So that is just like
way of kind of
benefiting off his name.
Yeah, which is a shame.
Well, then aren't they benefiting off the people that suffer? So
the people that had the treatment. Yeah.
so where does it stop?
Where does
if you
it
start
end?
looking at it at that way?
But I hope. I don't think it was. He's too big for that. But like, not discouraged or like, you know. I'm sure he gets a lot. This isn't the only negative criticism he's got. But I'm sure he knows and his team know.
Yeah.
They always had good intentions.
Exactly. And I think another thing that kind of pisses me off out of the whole thing is like people are trying to fight wars and arguments and debates for a side that doesn't even want them speaking for them, if that makes sense. Like if you correlated the opinion of the 1,000 people that he cured and said, how do you feel about this? I assume they're all going to be like, I don't care if he put it on the internet. I literally got my sight back.
100%, and like obviously the video is edited and it's produced, so they want it to look a certain way. But the reactions in the video were pretty
repulsion.
Like people seeing again, which is
They
crazy.
started crying after they seen it. You see
Yeah.
that there's a guy in it who's like, I just want to see my son.
Yeah.
They bring his son into the room. It's obviously quite sad, and then he just starts crying.
It's
Like, you know what I
crazy.
mean, it's like a full-grown man that doesn't look like he would get emotional in a room full of people, but he does because he's so overwhelmed with like this gift that he's received.
Seeing his son again.
And then here's another 10 grand.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
kept it,
yeah.
like, just we had women rolling on the floor
Yeah.
in the middle of the hospital because they're so happy, and the people that are like, there's got to be something more to it. Like, then the people that get annoyed at that don't see the good side of it, that only see the negative side of it. I think that says more about them than it does about him.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Because why are you getting angry when this video is not filled with like hurt and negativeness? So where's this coming from? Like,
Yeah,
where are you getting this all from? Like, you're just getting vexed on Twitter and then posting your opinions, and then media outlets grab it, but they do it with everything.
Yeah.
I don't know why people think Twitter. We talked to this when we talked about albums. You'll have 3 or 4 people on Twitter who are just normal people like me and you, say, oh, fuck this, fuck. Sorry, they say they don't care, they don't like it, they don't like this. And then there'll be a huge news article. People divided over this.
With
It's like
4 tweets out of 10,000.
with the 4 with the 4 negative tweets out of the 10,000 positive tweets or whatever, like comments on YouTube videos. People aren't divided. I don't know why such small fractions, small minority of opinions now are taken and garnered as like the other half of it.
Do you know what would be such a good feature on Twitter or something like that, or even the news, is like being able to see the sentiment of an event. So like exactly what you just said, yeah. Someone would read that news article and say, this must have been a bad video. They don't see the video, yeah, but they see it and this must have been a terrible video exploiting 1,000 blind people, yeah. Imagine at the bottom it had to say, there was 10,000 tweets posted about this event. Only 5% were negative, the rest were positive, or like some way of like giving you the overall picture, not just what's being fed to you. It's like, I guess I don't know how you would do that, but I think that would be so valuable. Or even like if you put in a hashtag Mr. Beast controversy, first thing you see is like 10% negative, 90% positive, or something.
Yeah. Like a green, amber, red.
Yeah,
exactly. And
exactly.
the green's like 87% and the red's like 13%.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a bad idea. And then people can grasp like an actual real consensus.
Real consensus based on all of the tweets that mention it or use that hashtag rather than based on somebody's opinion. Because that's what these news articles are. They're people's opinions based on, you know, their version of the event or how they perceive that event, which doesn't necessarily or doesn't represent how the collective people perceive that event. So it's
Oh, and it is annoying. And me and you are the type of people to go look into it and see, is that right? Not
even
spend
just
all our
look
time,
into it,
but
like
realize it for
and
what it's
think it
worth. I
through.
think, yeah, that's what I kind of meant. Instead of researching, see the truth in it. Like for someone like me who follows music like as it happens on like a weekly basis. Like I remember when the new Arctic Monkeys songs came out and they were getting slated, and I said, I went to the actual music video on YouTube, watched it, read the comments, mate. I couldn't find a single negative comment. So I was just like, that's a lie. And then I start getting like hit up like, that's a lie. Like this whole article here is a lie, man. You're meant to be the fucking enemy and you're lying. I mean, but then it's like what we spoke about before. It's one person's opinion or they've correlated this information from somewhere. All these journalists are, and they just don't have it these days. And I just think, are they told to put that out? Do you know what I mean? Are they told? Like,
do you know what it is? Again,
controversy sells, mate.
That's exactly it. It's controversy sells, and like these people are getting the data back. Like, let's say in a month they post 5 positive articles and 5 negative articles, and the 5 negative articles get double the views of the positive. Next month, what they're gonna do?
Yeah,
they're gonna post 8 negative articles, 2 positive. Month after that, so it's just this like. Unfortunately, I think it's like it's what the people want.
Yeah, you're on the money there.
It's what the people want, and it's kind of social media, clickbait, because of the whole model where it's views. It's just led us down this path where, like, yeah, the majority is negative, unfortunately. Writing a negative hit piece on something versus a good glowing review, it's probably more likely to sell.
And I think then that's the consensus we have of what actual human society is like as a whole. It's not good.
No.
But yeah, I've stopped reading like certain media outlets due to the fact that I can just see through that bullshit. Man.
Yeah. Well, the news at the minute is everything. It's cost of living crisis, climate change, war in Ukraine. It's all
negative.
All negative.
Missing people, murders, stabbings, sexual assaults, like just everything bad, man. Just littered through the entirety of.
It's a tough read.
I mean, yeah, I don't like it, and I don't actually read it, but I'll click on it once, like twice a week, just to get a. Is there anything major? Because it says major news, you know, and then obviously we have our like topics of the week sometimes, or like current events. So I just touch base on that. Minute I'm on like a certain website, I'm like, get me off here, man.
Yeah.
I've been on here for 15 seconds. I'm already feeling weird.
Yeah.
So
because one of the things at the minute in the news is just cost of living.
Yeah.
And I think it was only last month or the month before Jersey released their RPI, which is basically our retail price index, how much have things gone up since last year. I think it was like 12.5% or something scary. And I think it's the same in most countries where cost of living crisis, people just cannot afford basic necessities, food, electricity. And I think it's a bit, I don't know, I always wonder, I think every generation has had a cost of living crisis, and is this just ours? But it seems scary. Like, I've got family in the UK, and their electricity bill doubled what they used to be, which is a significant jump for most people, especially in winter. Cost of food as well has gone up significantly. It's like becoming like a real serious issue for a lot of people that have previously been unaffected by it because they've had a decent salary, decent wage. So
yeah, I tried to sort of look into it this week as we spoke about it, and it has like this eerie feeling of us like working class and middle class are not really that anymore. They're not middle class.
Yeah.
They're slowly dropping down into like
away.
poverty.
Yeah.
So I really, because I had to come from it from a proper dummies like perspective.
Just a new
I had to
perspective.
go back to school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I even said to myself, right before I start looking into this, just out loud, like, what's the cost of living crisis? And I didn't know. So I mean, like, I couldn't say it to someone, so I wrote it down. It says the cost of living crisis refers to the fall in real disposable incomes that is adjusted for inflation and after taxes and benefits.
Yeah.
So higher inflation, increased gas prices, and a higher tax burden. So it's like those three things. All that combined makes the cost of living more expensive, and it affects mostly standard employees and pensioners.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's affected by the wages not going up and basically not being high enough, because if they were high enough in the first place, the margin wouldn't be as big.
Exactly. So like, imagine that. Imagine every month you've got 500 quid left over. And I think previously, like 30 years ago, wages generally rose in line with inflation and cost of living. Not exactly like for like, but it was close enough, so you didn't feel the pinch as much. But cost of living the last 5-6 years has been going up significantly, and wages haven't risen in I don't know how.
I got a little stat.
Got it, yeah.
Yeah. So by May 2024, real wages would have grown by just 2.4% since 2008. But in the 16 years prior to that, between 1992 and 2008, they had grown by 38%.
See,
that's a massive difference.
But that disposable income you had is just becoming smaller and smaller and smaller. And I think what's happening now is for some people, it's gone past the point where their expenses are more than they earn once they pay tax and all their normal bills. So
it's hard, mate, to like see everything on the rise, and not actually feel the benefits of it, because most people with like a 9-to-5 occupation, we work hard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We spend a lot of our time doing that. We got 7 days a week, 5 are given to work.
Yeah. You know what? It's a part of the system, and it's almost by design in that um, generally when prices go up, asset prices go up. And I've experienced this myself. We were very lucky. Like the time we bought a house was just before COVID. I
Mm.
think it was 2019. Um, we sold in, when did we sell? May last year, so 2022, in 3 years. Our house doubled in value in 3 years.
My God.
So, and that's all part of this, all this money that gets pumped into the economy generally flows to asset prices. So what happens is, saying about the middle class before,
Mm.
people that own assets get wealthier. People that didn't own assets get kind of locked out of these markets. So like if you think someone that was looking to buy a house when we were in 2019, you needed like a 10% deposit, which I think we got paid like 360 for us, so we needed £36,000. 3 years later, you would have needed like a 60 grand deposit for the type of house that we bought.
What?
So your wages would have had to almost have doubled for it to be relative to what you earn. There's no way people's wages doubled in 3 years. So that for me was like this wake up call. Like I got to experience it
Yeah, yeah,
firsthand.
yeah.
Really
On a
fortunate.
benefit side.
Benefit side, like I was really fortunate, but I thought like, what if me and Megan decided to go traveling with that money instead, and we didn't buy a house, and we came back and houses would double the
Mm-hmm.
price than we left, and we'd have had to save double. It took us like 4 years to save that deposit, or longer. I can't remember
Yeah.
how long. It took us a long, long time, and that was half of what we would have needed if we'd have used it to go traveling and then come back. Then we'd have been locked out of the market for another 2, 3, 4 years while we saved the 60 grand. Then who knows where house prices
Yeah,
would have
that's
been.
right. So there was a lot of people, wasn't there, that put deposit on houses
Mhm.
prior to the interest rates going up. But
Yeah,
when the interest rates going up, they then couldn't afford
yeah,
the
yeah.
actual new price of the mortgage,
Mhm,
which then lost their deposits on.
mhm. Yeah, yeah.
And that happened like that.
It's really crazy, and it's like uh, it's such like a, I want to say like a rigged system. And I'm not, when I say that, I don't mean, I don't know, I don't think I believe that it's purposely rigged and there's like a group of like 10 people controlling the whole situation. But um, it's a rigged system and people know how to game the system. People with money, I think, and like who are able to get the right financial advice and that are really able to benefit from situations like now. And they know where to put their money. They have money. If they own assets, asset prices are going to go up. So yeah,
It's like you have to already have your foot in the door to
yeah,
profit from.
unfortunately, yeah,
Otherwise,
it seems that way. Otherwise, you almost seem to get locked out, and then it's harder now to get back in.
see, it's such a like difficult thing to look at because you could be well off, right? Because your parents have done well.
Mm,
But then the other side of it, if you're just on your own, you don't have a girlfriend, you don't have a partner, you don't have a boyfriend, you don't have parents that own properties.
mhm.
You're kind of just starting from scratch. That's how you end up in like, bed sits, working 9 to 5s all the time. And like, I don't know if you ever heard that, like back in, I can't say what decade it was, whether it was like 60s, 70s, 80s or what, but apparently you could have a family home. The wife could stay at home, be a stay-at-home wife. You
Yeah,
could have 3 or 4 kids. Only the man could work, and you'd have like leftover money to go on holidays and
new
that.
car every 3. Yeah, I can't remember. I think it's 60s in America. I've read about this. You needed one income in the household. You didn't need two people to go out to work. You could save for college education for children. You could have holiday every year and new car every 4 years.
So, as a working class person, yeah, knowing all that information, do you not feel like you're just getting? Well, I'm not saying you, but do you not people must just feel like they're getting bent over at the
And I
moment?
can completely understand that. And it's like, the problem as well is it's really complex to understand what's going on. Like, how it all works, how the system works, how the economy works, like basic economics to understand what is happening to you, how mortgages like work and how everything works. Um, so like people don't even, I don't, like we probably don't even realize how it's impacting us, what the future looks like for us because there's these like of what's actually going on and where this all ends up. How did we get from a single income being able to support a whole household to two incomes with no children, no debt, not being able to afford to save for a mortgage?
Struggling.
What happened in the last 60 years to get there? Given all the advancement we've had in technology, our understanding of like everything, how has it got worse, not better? And I think it's a flaw in the system.
It's got.
Something's not working, something's gone wrong. What that is,
I don't know. Yeah.
yeah.
There's no there's no that takes away the incentive. You want to work hard so you can like reap the benefits of working hard, you know.
Mm,
But why am I going to work hard if I'm still suffering? Like I remember reading in the newspaper not too long ago that for the first time ever in Jersey, working people, nurses, that's even outside against nurses who work extremely hard, are rocking up to food banks.
it's crazy. I think I read when it's like 4 point something million people in the UK are on food stamps, which is a huge number of people to be able not to be able to afford basic necessities. Um, and like, should there be a situation where somebody has a full-time job like a nurse and cannot afford basic necessities like food and has to get support from the government? Should that
No, what's going on?
how is that?
What's going on there?
Yeah. It's but it's such a complicated topic because it's like, right, okay, well, yes, we'd love to be able to pay people more, but we can't. If we pay people more, we don't have a business. So then, okay, like if you're a business owner,
Yeah.
let's say you own a little restaurant or something or a little cafe, you only make enough to take out 30 grand a year for yourself, which means that you've only got enough to be able to pay people minimum wage. What do? You can't pay people more than you can afford.
No. But then it's also aggravating as well because once in a blue moon you have some fucking know-it-all politician rock up who says they're going to change all of that.
Mm,
So people put their beliefs into that person
yeah,
and like, oh, you know, like life's going to get better, you know, and the years go on and it only seems to get
get
worse.
worse. But then here's the thing, right? Imagine you're that business owner and a politician comes in and says, I'm raising the minimum wage from £7 to £15. Everyone claps. You have to close your cafe because you cannot afford to pay people £15 an hour. So like everything comes at a cost.
Yeah.
So it's like you pull one lever because you think you're doing the right thing, yet you've just put 10,000 small businesses had to close shop because they can't afford to pay people minimum wage.
God, man. So what do you do, man?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot to talk about, isn't it? It's like even with the minimum wage thing, there's like counter arguments to say there shouldn't be a minimum wage.
There shouldn't be a minimum
There
wage and
shouldn't
there
be.
should be what instead?
There should just be you pay people. There's no minimum wage. You can pay people whatever their time is worth for the job they're doing. Um, because it kind of what's the argument? It's like entry level jobs, yeah. So you start off at a job that pays like £7 an hour because that's all it's worth. That's all you're worth to the company
Right.
for them to be able to make money by employing you. And there's probably other jobs out there that could be done, but because the minimum wage is £7, they don't hire people to do it. They outsource it or whatever it is they do. Um, because you're not going to pay someone more than you can afford to pay them. If I'm losing money by employing you, I just won't employ you. This doesn't
No.
make sense.
You'd find someone who's willing to do that job.
Cheaper, or I'd have to outsource it to another country where labour's cheap or whatever it is. Um, so yeah, it's so complicated. Like I want to say like yes, raising the minimum wage to £15-20 should be done tomorrow, because like you think that's the right thing to do, but I think there'd be so many knock-on consequences of that. Like entry level jobs would disappear overnight.
Like behind the scenes ones you don't really know
Know
about,
what's
yeah, like
happening. Those minimum wage jobs that like let's say a lot of uni students have, or like people that are first entering the workforce have, they disappear. So then there's no jobs for those type of people who are going to move up eventually. But this is just to keep them going for now or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I always think about it like, what would I do? if I, because it is a serious issue for a lot of people, and it's like, what's within your control? What can you do? And I think like one of the only things you could do is like really think about or put time and effort into like thinking how you can increase your earning potential so that you're not as impacted as these cost increases in cost of living, and you can kind of that gap between if your disposable income versus your expenses is big enough that you can, you know, if there is increases, you can stomach them and it doesn't impact your quality of life. Whether that's fair or not, whether that's the right solution, I don't know. But it's probably the only one that's within your control, isn't it? It's like
To work harder.
not to work harder,
To
to invest in yourself in terms of like upskilling, learning new things so that you have the capability to earn more money. Not saying necessarily do 60 hours instead of 40,
right.
but like if you're on a salary where it's close to like you don't really have a much disposable income,
Yeah.
you're at risk or you're like quite vulnerable to this type of thing. Cost of living increases, fuel prices going up, getting locked out the property market. Whereas if you can figure out how to increase your earning potential so you earn more for an hour of your work than you used to, you're not that you have to work longer hours, you're more skilled, you've got more knowledge. So you can earn say £20 an hour instead of £7 an hour, whatever the minimum wage is these days. Is that the best thing that you could do for yourself? Like what are your options at the minute?
Yeah. That's a good point. That is what people should try to do. A lot of people don't have that mentality though,
I know, and
and
that's
they
what.
just get left behind.
Yeah, you're
So well, I should suffer because I'm not smart enough to like think in
mm,
that sort of pragmatic approach.
mm. It's yeah. I'm not saying it's the solution, but like if I had to give advice, if I was struggling, what advice would I give myself? And it's like you're
Scary.
not going to change the system, are you? Like, let's be honest. Better men than us have tried. Like, we don't even understand the system. How could
No.
we change it, or how could we propose a better solution? So, what's within your control? You can set your ability to save is limited by how much you earn. So, if you're on minimum wage and your disposable income per month is very low, you can't really save. You're limited by how much you earn. So, is the best thing to try and figure out how to earn more per hour? I don't know. It's such a tough one.
It
It's
is.
probably horrible advice as well. Like, I mean, I'm doing everything. I'm already
I'm
working
doing everything I can. I'm tired. I feel drawn out. I got a family to look
to
after.
look
Got
after.
kids.
When am I supposed to find the time to learn new things? I get it. I
And,
get it.
and middle-aged people as well are in that sort of like limbo area where it's like I have children,
Mm,
or my children are finally grown up. Now I've got adults to look at, parents to look
yeah.
after because my parents are at the end of their life.
Mm,
So you're always like, you're never to just free to do what you want.
I
Like
know.
kind of how me and you are right now. Do you know what I mean? We don't have anything to worry about really. Like I don't have children,
Yeah.
and my mum's doing all right.
No
No
responsibility.
responsibility to that sense. So we're like in the best position, but we're anomalies to a degree. Only
Mm,
people our age are really like that. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean?
We're on the cusp of like just before we're about to have families.
Mhm.
No significant responsibility.
Yeah.
A lot of discretionary time where we can kind of choose what we're doing with all our spare time. Mm.
So it's
So
hard.
what do you do then?
I don't know. So it's hard to be like a parent or like somebody of that age and say, right, well, I need to dedicate extra hours to looking into this, or how can I better myself? How can I do this? And you got kids screaming in the background, or you got them to go make dinner, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's hard. It's really hard.
No doubt it's hard, but what else do you do?
Well, yeah, no, you got to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's all part of that. Like all the ones that have made it, if you want to call it
Mm.
that, they
Yeah,
all
yeah.
give little speeches about having to suffer for a little bit before they got to where they were.
Mm. But it's such a tough one. Like, I always think how fortunate Megan and I are. Exactly what you said. No responsibility, no kids. We both have decent jobs where we're earning pretty good money. So this whole cost of living crisis hadn't really like hit home for us, and that it hasn't
Mm.
like really impacted us. We can afford the additional electricity, the extra food we can afford, and we've still got enough money to live the life that we did before with all of this.
Mm-hmm.
But that is such a luxury, and like you can take that so easily take that for granted.
Oh, mate, you
That a lot of people out there aren't in that position. Um,
Yeah, mate, seen it firsthand a little bit. So obviously I live with my mum and my brother
Mm,
in this huge, like massive flat, man, that had this balcony that went around the whole gaff. Um, I mean, it's a couple grand a month, but it was like a really nice place to live. And the geezer that owned the building sold the building, so everyone in the flats had to go.
mm,
And it's hard to get like accommodation around here, so back was up against the wall and I had to move into this flat. We all went our separate ways. I moved into this flat, man,
mm,
for just over a year. No, 1 year actually. And it was tiny.
mm,
I hated it. But besides that, what I'm saying is it was expensive. I was on my own for a year and I seen how hard it was. When I went, after I paid my rent and then paid my electricity and then paid whatever else I need to pay, and then actually went and done my individual food shopping, my spare cash was minimal. I was like, if I ever want to leave here, if I ever want to go traveling, if I ever wanted to do anything significant, and I wasn't with a partner and I was just on my own, I wouldn't be able to. It would take me about 10 fucking 15 years off to save a good amount of money to like and pay my bills as the bills hold me back. A year later, like I'm with someone who has a mortgage. We go halves on the mortgage. It's £400 each.
yeah.
Man, like my bills now doesn't even come to like a fifth or sixth of my wage.
Mhm.
So it's a complete like juxtaposition of seeing what that lifestyle was like for a year and then going to a place where actually this is like my safety net was just is now massive enough. I'm in a good position, do you know what I mean? And I can do loads of saving now and it's great. But how I ended up in that other position was just like through chance. And if I was on my own, I don't know how I would have got out of that.
Yeah,
I
it's
would have
all
left.
outside your
I'd have
control
had to
as well.
leave. I would have wanted to leave. I
Mm.
wouldn't have had to. I could have stayed here, but I would have much preferred to just go somewhere else.
Doesn't that show you, like, financial freedom? It doesn't necessarily mean rich where you don't have to work, yeah, but how much more peace of mind and better was your life in scenario number 2, where
Hmm.
you just had a more disposable income. Your bills weren't a significant part of what you earned, so you weren't kind of not worried, but like, I'm never going to be able to save to go traveling. I'm never going to be able to save to this. Like, how did a different kind of how what's the word? Not a relief, but it's just I don't think you realize when you're in the scenario one how much that plays on your mind
Hmm.
and how much it impacts your day to day, your psyche, your general
Yes.
health and well being.
1000% correct, mate. Your mentality is completely
Different,
different.
yeah,
Completely different. Like when I was in that, living on my own in a flat that was well too expensive, I wasn't really going to the gym. I never watched TV because I just hated being in the lounge. So I'd stay in my room. After I finished work, I'd either just try carry on working or I was like researching how to trade when I didn't even want to really trade, but
yeah,
I
yeah,
just didn't want to like not be
yeah,
doing anything. There was no outside. If I had to go outside, it was like a main road.
mm,
I love getting fresh air and like the place I'd come from and the place I am now with like gardens and that. Used to take like gardens for granted, man. Like just going
yeah,
out onto this massive balcony and sitting there at night and just being out in the fresh air and then going to a place that felt like an attic where I couldn't go outside unless I was in the main road. Hated it. And now I'm back somewhere where it's got a good outside bit again. And now I'm like, oh, and
it's crazy how these basic things like that's why when I say like financial, I wish there was another term for it. It's not financial freedom, but it's almost like these basic things. There's another name for it. Like if you can have uh, where your let's say your expenses are a fifth of what you earn. All of your expenses are a fifth or 2/5 of what you earn. You've got a little bit a decent sized place to live where you've got a bit of room to breathe
mm-hmm,
and a little outside space. Just the difference that can have on somebody's overall sense of well-being.
mm-hmm.
Um, it's like night and day, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think one of the scariest things as well is that during that period, I never noticed how I was feeling.
Mm,
It's only looking back on it that I realized how like not okay I kind of was
yeah.
feeling about the whole
Hmm.
situation and how much it played on my mind.
Yeah.
Like I kind of just thought like that this is life whatever. Like but now being in a good place and being actual happy, like I noticed, whoa, that was not a good way to feel back then.
Yeah, it's so crazy. You get used to how things are, and it just becomes your norm, doesn't it?
Mm.
And it's like, yeah. And it's a shame because it's like, well, it's not a shame, but just coming back to what I'm saying before, the only way out for most people that I can see is to figure out how to earn more money because like, having a partner might be not something on the table for them, or they're not,
Mm-hmm.
they want to stay single, they might want to stay single. Um, So to get from scenario 1 to scenario 2, where you've got a bit more freedom financially, a nicer place to live, a little bit of outside space, wherever it is, the only way I could see out of that is to, figure out how to increase your earning potential.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's a shame that you can't sort of have that lifestyle through just like this individual singularity of being on your own. Like if you just on your own, which it's fine. Some people want that. Do you know what I mean? It's a nice life, but you don't get the benefits of
you
all that. You
don't.
need like like what I'm saying is sometimes you're better off just being a Rolling Stone, mate. Like just
Yeah,
traveling,
yeah,
not
yeah.
going off,
But do you think
not sitting
what
still.
do you think your experience would have been is obviously before you met me and you live in this place, if let's say you earn 100 grand a year, where you had let's say you
Yeah.
could afford the flat that you live in now
Mm-hmm.
with Mia, still putting money away,
Yeah.
traveling's still an option because you
Yeah.
could save for that. You can still go on nice holidays, drive a nice car, whatever. Do you think being on your own would have been different? Or
Would it been attainable or would I be happy?
not attainable? Let's not. Would you have been happier? Do you think that year when you were on your own,
Yeah.
you'd have been happier if you earned more money?
Yeah. Because I would have been able to change my environment,
Yeah,
and my environment was probably the most important thing.
yeah.
Like in this gaff, I didn't even listen to music like loud, which is like all I do
Mhm.
because my walls are so thin. I could
Yeah.
hear this woman clearing her throat all the time and that, and I was just like, "What is she doing? She's doing that for ages." But like every night for like a year. But regardless, like I was used to having like a little mini studio. I'd done music and playing like out of an amp
Mm.
and which is my like pastimes and going outside and taking dogs for a walk and things like that
Mm.
to just suddenly being like cocooned. And so, yeah, I would have definitely been happier
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I would have been able to like do my hobbies at home that I would usually do. My environment would have been completely changed. But it is like I don't get me wrong. I'm not moaning. It's all mentality at the end
It
of the
is. Yeah,
day.
it's like it's definitely mentality, but like your environment and your situation has a huge impact on your mentality. Like you can try your hardest to be the most positive person in the world, but at the end of the day, like the situation that some people were in, it's not easy.
No,
Just drains you. It's like
it's not.
so.
A lot,
Yeah,
lot of people's backs are up like against the wall, man. And
yeah. Someone described it in a podcast as just like ambient anxiety. You're just constantly on this state of like fight or flight. You're not quite relaxed. You think you're worried about things that you don't realize you worry about. Like, let's say in that year, you probably thought it a few times where you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to save to go traveling, or I don't know if I'll be able. Is this me for the rest of my life?
yeah,
It's
yeah. I did think, is this me forever? Like,
50.
how the hell am I going to get out of this?
Yeah,
Which is why I was looking at trading, mate. Something I'm not interested in. But the only rationale to doing that for 4 or 5 hours an evening was the hope of getting the result of extra income, more money,
exactly.
change things up.
Yeah.
There was no way in hell I could have done anything different. Just remaining on this working a nine to
Mm,
five, even getting promotions, mate. I've had a few promotions,
mm.
and it's still not like, yeah,
No, no,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Mm,
It's still like, oh, all right, yeah, sounds a little bit better, but whatever.
yeah. That's it. It's such a tough one. But in like a positive note, I think the opportunities today with the internet, social media, and information that's available online, the to attain knowledge, new skills, learn new things, and maybe learn skills that are easier to leverage. Like you and I work 9 till 5s. Yeah, so we exchange an hour of our time for a fixed price. Let's say, well, I don't know what the rate is, but let's say it's £10 an hour. Within an hour, we will only ever earn £10. Whereas, like, what a lot of people are looking at these days is this podcast. We'll spend 2 hours recording it, so we'd have earned £20 in the old model. But let's say we put that online, and over the course of the next 2 years, that gets 1 million views. The there's no limit on how much that could earn you. So you're leveraging your time. You're spending your time creating things or doing things that have the ability to leverage and earn more than just a fixed kind of amount. Um, I think a lot more people are looking into that. I think like online coaches, they'll create a course. They'll do the 12-week training program. for 4 different body types, 4 different goals. Takes them 10 hours to make it.
Yeah.
But then they can sell that to 1,000 people, 10,000 people. So I think we went the traditional way. We went 9 till 5. But if I was to give my 18, 19-year-old self advice, it'd be able to explore an online business or something that takes advantage of leverage. You do something once, but you can sell it 1,000 times.
Yeah. Yeah, you do need
Definitely.
those little hobbies.
Yeah.
I went and started doing loads of stuff. I was flipping sneakers for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was, do you know what? It was actually fun.
Fun.
Yeah, I was going on like warehouses, like, and just buying sneakers and off, you know, like outlets, like half price and that, and then whacking them on eBay. And then I started to learn, oh, this shoe was successful. Yeah, do you know what the most successful ones I sold were these Adidas Simpson collab.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like it had Mo on it and like flames, and it was like Mo's Tavern, but an Adidas sneaker. And I was buying them for like, I don't know, I think it was like 20 quid, and I sold one for like 90.
Class.
Yeah. It was good. It's really fun. But the only hindrance is being over here in Jersey.
Postage.
So yeah, postage, fees through whichever you sell them on, and getting them here. So if you wanted to buy in bulk, like they even stop them at the harbour and say, oh, you owe us more money just to us to release them to you. But in like the UK and America, people can buy in bulk and just go and get it, or like have it driven down to them or something like that. Bulk was like how you want to make the most profit. So it was okay, but I wasn't making like profit. Do you know what I mean?
And it's time labor intensive.
It is
requires you to spend a lot of time.
Yeah, take photos of it, put it on the internet, take it down to the post office, make sure you get the address right. The annoying thing is as well with like eBay, which I was using, is you have to send stuff by sign for, because if you don't, then they can just say they never received it, even if they did.
Yeah.
And because you don't have proof,
you have to refund.
Yeah, and sign for over here is like over a tenner.
Yeah.
So imagine I like buy some sneakers for 30 quid, sell them for 60, wipes out your profit, the postage, then eBay want to take a portion.
Yeah.
I was doing I started a Fiverr account. Fiverr's like freelancing. Made a profile about just writing songs and lyrics.
Yeah.
A few people, I done
I've
songs
used
for
it before.
a few people. They take a quarter of your money, man. 25%. So if you get paid 20 quid, they have like a Fiverr. And then I think there's another fee again, and it's just like, mate, what is going on?
That's the thing, and like that shoe example, it's quite labor intensive. It requires a lot of your time. Yeah, but imagine you been doing it for 3 years or whatever. You built up the skills and knowledge, and then you did a course, how to buy and sell sneakers and make a profit. You only have to do that, spend a week building that course, yeah, and then run a few ads, put it online, and you could sell that 1,000 times, where you're not really doing any more work other than running the ads, dealing with any, questions by email and stuff. So
yeah, and like advice for like anyone wanting to try anything like that is you garner knowledge a lot more rapidly than you would think you would. Like even doing this, for example, how many more things have we realized, the do's and don'ts and the knowledge of it since starting like 2 months ago?
Yeah, it's
massive.
crazy.
And I've seen that with the shoes. Like you learn stuff as you go, but you learn it quite quickly, and it just all implements itself into new learning as time passes by. But the time passes by quick.
So much quicker than you think. And like, I'm also a big believer in like the more you put in, the more you put out, right? So naturally, you're just gonna learn things as you go. You're naturally just gonna kind of pick stuff up, learn new skills, new information about a topic like this. But if you put extra time in and treat it as like not a business, treat it as more of a structured, like, okay, I need to spend 5 hours practicing this, then doing this. You can learn things so quickly. It's like you put in what you get out of it. And I think, have you heard of Alex Hormozy?
No.
He's like a business influencer. So he's built like £100 million businesses, and he's now got this company called acquisitions.com where they invest in other businesses. But he gives this great advice for young people. He's like, when you come out of school or college, he's like, you should find a job, not that pays you the most, where you would learn the most, where you would pick up the most knowledge and learn the most skills, or the most valuable skills. He's like, when it's kind of what we were saying before about being young, no responsibilities yet, you've got time to invest in yourself. He's like, the person that takes the job for the most money versus the person who takes the job where they're going to learn the most,
Mm.
pick up the most skills. In the long run, person that goes in the job trying to learn knowledge will always win, because that's what's that's what people pay you for. It's your knowledge and information. So if you learn as much as you can, consume as much as you can, um, it then becomes a commodity for you in the future.
Yeah, you're right about that. People pay you for your time and knowledge, which is why specialists earn thousands of pounds for, doctors,
Yeah,
or it's you're paying them for the 10,000 hours they took to learn it and then pass that information on when they come to fix whatever they need to fix of yours.
yeah.
You see it in tiny increments with plumbers, electricians, and
Mhm.
things like that. They have knowledge you don't, which is why you pay them
Pay them
for
to
your
do it.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously, and there's more niches out there. So the more like the more intricate your knowledge is about particular things and not everyone else has knowledge on, it's why you get paid more. It's why it's more expensive, because there's not as many people that know that
Yeah,
than you.
100%. Yeah. And that's the advice I'd give my younger self now. I think I wouldn't change things, because I think we spoke about this in another episode. Like, I am the person I am today, and I have the drive I have and the ability to learn new skills because of the path I've been on. So my 21-year-old self wasn't the person I am today. But um, I would have chosen a career or a path that could scale, where I could learn the skills, acquire the knowledge, and then either start my own business or company in that area, like a services business, digital marketing, something like that, where you can do it yourself. Like the jobs we do, we couldn't go take well, some of the knowledge and skills is transferable, like people skills and learning to manage people and things like that. But in terms of the actual job we do, we couldn't go and set up our own shop. Really, it's a very high barrier to entry. Whereas if we'd have gone into something and like really invested our time to learn digital marketing, video editing or something where it's a bit easier to set up your own shop, that's probably the only thing I would change about the path I've taken. Yeah, it's we are where we end up.
Yeah. No, your experience defines who you are.
Mm,
If I could go back, because I was like, the minute I was 16, I was like, just go get me a job. I just wanted a job doing anything because I wanted money, because I thought money would just be great to have at 16. Like,
yeah,
so I went and got an electrician apprenticeship, and that lasted like half half a year, because I was like, I'm not getting covered in dust on a building site for the next 30, 40 years. Like, I knew in 6 months that
wasn't for you.
was not for me. So I sacked it in and I went back to college. I'd done media for a year.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you were there actually. But anyway, like if I could go back now, I'd have got out of it and I'd have went to uni.
really.
Yeah, I'd have done music at uni.
But do you
And
think at the time, you'd have done? Were you?
I would have done some sort of music that would lead me into a job where I could, be like a critic,
Mm,
or not play music. I don't know, be like a researcher into music, or like write album reviews for somebody, or like a journalist, a music journalist.
music journalist.
Yeah, I'd love to be a music journalist. That if I could go back now and do that, that's exactly what the path I would have chosen. Yeah,
Mm,
because that's a more fulfilling job for me.
yeah. Mm.
Speaking like we're 80. I
Yeah.
mean,
No.
nah. Do you know what it is though?
It,
It's not. I'm not like I'm too old to do anything like that. I'm 28. I could fucking go turn around tomorrow and start going on the path down that road if I wanted. But you get to a place in life where it's like, I know I don't live at home anymore. I don't have much to fall back on, man. If I went to the UK, I'd have to sell all my stuff, and I don't know, like I wouldn't be in the relationship that I'm in now. That
I think as well, like I don't know, as you approach your 30s, you kind of, it's an opportunity to kind of reassess the path you've taken, the job you're doing, whether it's like when you were 16, money was the driving factor. So you took the job, whatever job, you realised electrician wasn't for you, so
an immature decision,
you took
really.
the next job, and then like I was the same, like I didn't have a true passion to work in finance. I'm lucky in that when I started, I actually really enjoyed it, but it wasn't like a passion of mine. I took the job because I wanted to earn money and as much money as possible. And I thought a career in finance was the way to do that, and it's been okay. So I think as I get 30 now, I'm kind of reassessing what my values or my priorities are, and whether money is the right reason, or whether you do something more out of enjoyment, or it's like we were saying before, what skills could I learn that would then be scalable. So it's I think it's just like a natural healthy kind of part of
Yeah.
approaching your 30s maybe.
Do you not think it's weird that in society, and this is just like a random thought, this like finance and everything that's money driven is sort of the strings of the world, you know, like over here, besides working on building sites and labourers jobs, which are fine jobs, don't get me wrong,
Yeah, yeah.
but they're the majority of jobs are between that and finance, office or building sites. Like I'd say a fat percentage of the jobs is,
Yeah.
or like nurses and stuff. But how in where was the turning point, or why did the route that was taken lead to there instead of like, you know, creativity, like to have a job in music, to have a job in art, to have a job in all these little like what people see as hobbies, and
How
it's
would you
such
monetize it though?
tiny anomalies. But that no, that's it. How would you monetize it? Why don't we have like office buildings that only relate to music, and music's big, and you have thousands of employees that come in to, like, you know, where RBS is just come in every day and all work on music
Yeah.
together and try come up with a new artist, come up with new songs. And that's what's driven in school, and you know, you come out and then you learn about that and you go and try and make job, and when you're employed, they give you all the tools like they do now when they give you computers and say crack on and try and make this. And obviously I'm just talking very ambiguously, but like, how come it never ended up
Yeah.
there? Obviously I don't know what would have been invented or created or the ideas that would revolve around that, but isn't it such a shame that, because a lot of people would, I think, would be a lot more passionate and fulfilled, and I'm just talking music, but like, you know, painting or arts and
Yeah.
crafts or knitting or whatever it is, like,
Do you know what's like?
why is that not a thing?
Do you know what? And I think it's sad. Like it might be sad to say, but money. Like if you think about your RBC building, they pay probably £1 million a year in rent for to give you all the facilities for you guys to come in and do your day-to-day job. Yeah, pay 1,000 employees, a massive expense. If you're paying 1,000 employees to come in and write lyrics, they better be popping out a #1 hit every hour to be able to pay for it. You know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think it comes down to kind of capitalist society where if there's no profit at the end, people aren't going to put their money into it.
That's it, mate.
Like, would
That
you
is what it's come to. No, I would. Well, if I'm rich, no, probably not.
say you got 100,
No rich person's gonna put money into anything that's not gonna get them more money.
unless it's like
Wisely.
yeah, there's like they've probably got their hobbies, their interests, and they might fund a project that's just more out of interest. But generally, they're not going to invest
Yeah,
in
you
things
do that when you got money to spare
when you got money
and
to
you want to
spare.
take a gamble.
But you don't get rich by investing in things that lose you money. So
But ain't it just a shame that, like, you're right, money, because money is like, money makes the world go round, whatever.
mm,
But ain't it just a shame that that is the truth? Like,
mm,
that's what the fact is. Like, what you just said, that is the answer. It's money. That's the answer. But ain't it a shame that we're at a place where that's the answer?
yeah. But what's the alternative?
I don't. Well,
That-
it's too late for the alternative, but the alternative would have been somewhere back in the late 1800s or 1900s, when music makes the
yeah.
world go round, or like people, the currency is something else. You know?
Yeah, yeah, but this is a thing. Like nobody yet has been able to come up with a better system. I think this is the whole argument against socialism. It's like, yes, capitalism. There's bad things about capitalism. Yeah, look at the world we live in and how much better things are now than they used to be. In terms of technology, standard of living's gone up for like most people across the world. We've lived. I think it's this crazy stat. That Bjorn Lomborg, who talks about a lot about climate change. Every day, I think it's like 1,500 people are lifted out of poverty. So they become the global poverty line. They become above it by earning enough to not be considered poor anymore, which is like a crazy number. Um, so there's been no alternate
Mm-hmm.
solution offered to the society, like the system that we have in the capitalist society. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
like it's almost like what's the word? Idealist? Idyllic? Is that a word? It's not the word.
because you have to think, right, what we are. We're humans that, you know, once upon a time we're in caves, and we just came out of caves, and we, you know,
Mm,
we came to land, and we were like, these are all plans that have fruitioned and became how society is. But on the way there, on the train to today, is everyone's just trying to work at something out. So what you're saying about it, how I don't think it's like it's good. Like, I'm glad we live in a society where I can go and get myself some money to feed myself, to look after myself, and put myself in some property, regardless of how expensive it is. Like, that's just a burden of it. But it's nice that I'm able to do that, and so is other people able to do that. So I think we're just learning, man.
Yeah. Because Russell Brand's a big one. He talks a lot about it, and he's very on like it should be different. Like there should be another way. We should push back. We don't want it to be this way. Corporations and that, but it's so complex. Like if you think about money, yeah, money probably. I think money came about because like when we used to trade stuff. Imagine money didn't exist and you still had to trade stuff. So like you had to figure out how to get your weekly shop by trading in
Yeah,
your old
mate.
pair of shoes.
Yeah. No, that's fucking hilarious. Because if someone came to me and then said, "Sound, have it your way, do what you want, yeah, go. What are you doing?"
There's
"Oh,
no
mate,
money. You got to
I don't
trade
know what
your
I'm doing, mate. Like,
yeah.
oh, you've got me. Like,
It's
it's hard, mate. Yeah,
so hard.
like I would not have the first clue about anything,
No.
how to run.
It doesn't mean that there's not a better way. It's just I think it needs more thought. Like it's really easy to criticize and like
Yeah,
slam the
yeah,
system we have, but then it's like, yeah, no problem. What you we'll have it your way.
yeah.
Yeah, but
You're not bringing anything to the table, just moaning at that point,
yeah.
aren't you?
No, exactly. Yeah, I was actually listening to Russell Brand and Bjorn Lomborg this week. Brings us on to the topic of the week.
Climate
Climate
change.
change. Um,
I messaged Gretz, like,
did you spoke to her?
told her to hit up the pod, see if she wanted to
Dial her
join.
in.
She said she's busy.
Busy. But yeah, it's
No,
is that your notes? Is it?
yeah, that's my notes, but and my
Let's
notes.
have a look.
My notes just rang, like, why did my
you got
notes just
found
rang?
out, I think.
I was trying to do it's my
Show
notes.
the
I
camera.
didn't have time to transcribe them.
Why
What
don't
looks
you just use your phone? You like the
I
clipboard?
wouldn't know, man,
Yeah,
like,
fair enough.
makes you look smart.
It does. You need a pair of glasses and then
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I like to normally write them all down, but just for if I was just scrolling on my phone.
Yeah. So this week's topic of
Yeah,
the week,
what a
climate change.
document. Yeah, sorry, mate. Climate change, mate.
This is a big one. This is another big one that's in like the news, doing the rounds on the podcasts. Do you have like a view on climate change in that? What do you know about it? How do you perceive it?
Do I have a view on climate change? Right. So a couple of things. Again, and I had to really come at it from like a boot camp, back to school. What is climate change? And I just didn't know, mate. I was like, what is climate change? And I actually couldn't think. So I've got the description of Google. Climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns. These shifts may be natural, but since the 1800s, human activities have been the main driver of climate change, primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas, which produces heat-trapping gases. I wrote that. So I had to look at like, what's the effects? You know, why is it a big thing? Why is everyone scared? Why are some people saying it doesn't exist? Or why are some people saying it's a hoax? So what could happen is there could be more frequent and intense droughts, storms, heat waves, rising sea levels, melting glaciers, and warming oceans, which can directly harm animals, destroy the places they live, and wreak havoc on people's livelihoods and communities. It sounds very like the end result, if it was to go the worst way, would be very apocalyptic and dystopian in the fact that it could mess us all up. It could extinct us.
Yes.
Apparently.
That's what I think that's the way it's portrayed. And
that's the way it's portrayed. Is that hysteria? Is that propaganda?
Good question. And I think, like, again, this is one of those very divisive topics where you've got like very extreme people on both sides of the fence. But I think the consensus is climate change is an issue and something we should be worried about. How much of an issue is it, and what should we be doing about it? Seems to be where people kind of disagree. Um, I get a lot of my information from this from like alternative media, which is like podcasts and things like that. So again, don't know how much it's verified, but generally these seem to be like experts in their fields and things like that. I think their argument is that yes, they agree climate change is something we should worry about, but it's not a big of issue as it's portrayed to be in the media.
Mm-hmm.
And the solutions being proposed by governments are going to make are not going to make as much of an impact on the situation as they say they will. And there's better ways to spend our time and effort trying to combat it. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where I seem to have landed based on like what I've listened to and stuff like that.
So I'm in a very similar place, and it looks like off the back of that as well. Like I've seen a lot of people bring up is the research and data hasn't garnered enough of time to see if these results are actually attainable.
Mm.
So to tell everyone to do this, do that, and do this,
Yeah.
you don't know if that's the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So the way I seen it was that you have scientists saying worry and
Mm-hmm.
worry now. You have people saying it's happening,
Yeah.
but you don't need to be as afraid as they are making out.
Yeah. 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 And I think a lot of that Bjorn Lundberg, I think it was Jordan Peterson that put me onto him. He's a climate change scientist, but he offers a very different view on what should be done about the situation. And his kind of whole point is what the solutions being proposed aren't going to fix the problem. They're not going to make a dent in the problem, and they're coming at the expense of people's the way people live their life, and it's mostly going to impact poor people. Um, so he's kind of saying, like, he uses I think it's an example that was put to him where Biden has Joe Biden's, I think he's just got approved, or he's presenting a bill where they'll spend $500 billion on fighting global warming. I think the majority of that is going on solar energy, fitting houses with solar energy, electric cars, and I think the other one's wind farming. And he's saying the cost on the American people versus the impact that is going to have on actually solving the issue is it's just not, the cost benefit isn't there. And he's kind of, his argument, which is, it's kind of makes sense. He's like, asking people to cut back on consumption will not work. Asking people to lower their quality of life and not use things that produce CO2 emissions generally just doesn't work. He thinks the only way out of it is through innovation and coming up with alternative sources of fuels to what we have now, that don't produce carbon emissions. And I think he talks about two. I think it's like nuclear fusion, and there's one more potential option that could be a possibility. But he thinks all that money would be better spent and more effective if it's spent in researching and developing these new fuel sources. Because if you think about it, like, do you recycle? Are you mindful of climate change when you live your day-to-day life?
No,
No, me
not in
neither.
the slightest. Everything
Me
goes
neither.
into the same bin. I don't really know what else I'm saying
Recycle a bit,
besides
but
that.
like I would be mindful of like, oh, I could probably get the bus here instead of using the car.
Right,
I wouldn't be mindful of like how much electricity I use, keeping the heating on, stuff like that. Flying, I go on holidays all the time, fly a lot.
Mm-hmm. I just feel there's like a hypocrisy behind it that I don't appreciate, because they do tell people drive less,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
get the bus everywhere, fucking walk everywhere, do this, eat less red meat,
Mm.
do green what carbon footprint
Yeah, yeah,
and all
yeah.
that, like reduce all that. Being said by rich organizations, that fly in private jets, that have mansions with heated swimming pools.
Yeah,
And it's like, you do this, you do that. But I mean,
yeah. There was I can't remember the celebrity who was on the news. Celebrities urging banks to no longer invest in like fossil fuel projects and innovation that involves fossil fuels. And it's like we've this is again from that Bjorn Lomborg, but in our society, we generally use electricity for everything. But in a lot of the developing countries like India, China, and other places, they still use a lot of fossil fuels in the day to day. Like they have wood burning stoves, coal fires, things like that, which means that, not investing or in fossil fuels would probably impact the poor people the most. Um, and it's these celebrities that have, if you look at their carbon footprint versus the carbon footprint of a day-to-day person,
Precisely.
flying all over the world, big, houses, multiple cars, it's very hypocritical, isn't it?
Yeah.
And again, it's probably good intentions, but it's not, because, and this is again a class point he makes. He's like, yes, it's an issue, but because it's been sensationalized in the media and portrayed to be this huge, urgent, pressing issue, people are not using logic and weighing up their options when looking at solutions. They're just going, they think they're doing the right thing by saying that we need to act now, and the only way to act is to completely cut fossil fuels out or completely do this. But it's not the solution, it's not effective, and it's probably going to impact the poorest people the most if we did do it. So we're going to have very little impact on the issue itself at the expense of majority of poor people. So yeah, it's quite,
And what you save and everything for if humanity is affected so drastically.
yeah. I don't know.
There's loads of things as well. But like I seen, and we don't specifically know what the consequences of the effects are. But
Yeah,
they're talking about, back when the Ice Age happened, that was global, wasn't it?
yeah,
Wiped everyone out.
yeah,
It was global.
yeah. I think so. Yeah,
So that was like, that happened off the back of, we didn't have cars back then. There was no fumes in the air. A lot of people think as well, that comes up quite regularly, is that the Earth goes through cycles and seasons. Like the Earth's not an idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like apparently, if we did just put all this stuff into the air and it was got too much, then it would just clean itself. It would sort itself up. Maybe we might go extinct in the process, but the Earth will always be okay. Apparently, that's what a lot of people think.
yeah.
And you had the Ice Age, which was worldwide, and there was no CO2 emissions
Yeah.
back then. There was none of what's going on now. So
Yeah, that's
but that
another one.
happened anyway.
The counter theory is that it's a natural part of the Earth's cycle, and yes, we have an impact in that increasing the CO2 levels. However, it's not significant. It's like it's the Earth's natural cycle. But again, I don't know the science or the detail on that. But there's so much to it, isn't there? And again, it's such a divisive topic. Greta Thunberg, what do you think of her?
I don't know, man. Is she just like the?
Poster child.
Yeah, the poster child? Is she just the consequence of puppeteers just telling her what to do? Like, I know she obviously has a passion for it, but to be honest, I don't know what the fuck she bangs on about, man. To be honest with you,
Yeah, I think she's just a big advocate for acting now and for pushing a lot of the solutions that I think a lot of people are saying aren't effective.
she's a kid though. Is she a child?
She's very young, yeah, very young. I think she was 16 or so when she came out on that with that big speech. How dare you?
She's been at like the United Nations shouting down the mic and that, hasn't she?
Very passionate, and again, good, like obviously good intentions, but it's just such a complicated topic. And for anyone to think they have the right solution, like fact, I know how to fix this, probably doesn't.
No, not at all. And I also think like people's priorities are in the wrong places. You want to worry about like what's it called, global warming. What is it called?
Climate change.
Climate change, yeah, and which is something that's meant to be so far in the future. When we're talking about nuking each other every other day, that's gonna fucking, what sort of radiation do you think's gonna go off the back of a nuke? You can't live in a place that's been nuked for like, what's that place in Russia?
Chernobyl.
Chernobyl. There
That's
you go.
another thing he says. He's like, again, it's a problem. It's not the only problem.
Nah.
So all the money that's being spent.
Why is it top of the list?
Yeah, exactly. That's what he says. Yeah.
Why is it top of
He,
the list?
I don't know. I think one of his proposals is that they should actually put together a list of all the top issues facing humanity, and then rank them in order. And the criteria should be, and then like how much money it would be to fix it. How do we know how to fix it? What's the risk or the likelihood of it actually happening? And then we should attack the problems. We shouldn't just jump on the first one. So yeah, it's
Well, when's this all meant to like come to fucking head?
So I think there was like a UN study that said, again, I'm not sure, I think it's been like disputed, but by 2030, if we haven't hit a certain target, we're past a point of no return, I think it
Past it
said.
by what, 2030?
2030.
Nah, they're blagging. That sounds like a blag to me. 2030 or what, 10 minutes down the road?
Yeah.
No
So I
way.
think it came out a couple of years ago, and now we've got,
That's to make people rush,
again,
isn't
looking
it?
into this.
They want everyone to act rash.
But this is what, and this is what he's saying. He's like, it's led people to act irrational. Governments are passing 500 billion a bill to spend 500 billion on fighting climate change, and the money is going to be spent on completely ineffective ways of doing it. But it's an immediate threat. We have to do something. We can't do nothing. So they think they're doing the right thing. But you need to Google that. I can't remember. It was definitely a UN. I think it was a UN study. But what exactly it said, I'm not sure. But it's quoted a lot in the podcast.
Yeah.
2030.
Yeah. So that's what, like, on this situation, because I even found it difficult to look into, because I sit on the fence of not having a clue, and that's still where I am. Like, I'm happy to say, like, today, when we've talked about climate change, I don't know what I'm talking about. I've tried to look into it. It just seems impossible to garner any knowledge that's conclusive. I mean, you got people saying left, people saying right, up, down, whatever. So it's hard, like, I don't know, man. This
It's
has
very
been, like,
complex,
to me,
isn't it?
since
Yeah.
we've done this, has been the hardest topic to talk about, because A, I'm not that bothered, and B, I don't know what just don't know what
Yeah,
the answer is. I don't know what's going on.
I agree. It's so complicated, but Russell Brand has a good counter argument, and he basically says, shouldn't you be bothered? Shouldn't you, not you, like, shouldn't,
Yeah,
rather than pray that somebody, this is what he counters to that Bjorn Lundberg, rather than pray that we come up with an innovative way for a new energy fuel, shouldn't we be the type of world, the type of society, the type of people that actually care about the world we live in and want to play our part in making it a better place? And it was like, it made me think a bit like, yes, probably we should care more about these issues, and probably should do more in our day to day. I think the issue for most people is just what you're saying. What is it that we should be doing that would actually help the situation? Because I've never thought about it. Like, I only hear about it in the news, but it does not cross my mind in a week, a month, the way I'm living my life impacts the climate. It just doesn't cross my mind.
yeah. And if a collective of professionals can't come to a definitive answer, how do you want me, amateur Joe,
Yeah.
to know what to do?
Mm.
So I mean, use it like experts. Experts are confused. If experts are confused, then
Where do we stand?
yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a tough one.
And I'd love to know, like, why in their mind do they think the conclusion is so severe? Like, what sort of experiment have they done, or what have they seen?
And the problem
What do they
I've
know? Like,
Yeah.
why are they so scared? Like, their hysteria comes from
Somewhere.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Like, it's
exactly.
pushed from somewhere, I assume. So, like, what is it? What have they seen? What's their knowledge? Where they're like, we're headed this way.
Yeah. And again, like, the problem I find with these topics, and with most topics I end up looking into, nutrition, like veganism versus eating meat, whoever is presenting whatever side of the argument, they all have scientific studies to back up their point of view, which completely oppose each other in terms of, like, the study that's led everybody to be so kind of concerned with climate change. I think it's the UN one, but let's say it is. That everybody that debates it says, well, what about this study that says it's just a natural life cycle of the planet? What about this study that says, so you just don't know what to believe? How do you decipher all these different opposing studies, all these professionals, experts in their field who have opposing ideas?
It's just like,
It's a minefield.
but it's meant to be getting warmer, right? That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Global warming, warmer. Mate,
Yeah.
it's been fucking -2 degrees for about 6 months. I'm freezing every time I walk down the road. Like,
And this is another one of the questions, is like, how much of an issue is it going to be if it's a degree warmer? What will be the impact?
a degree warmer.
I think
Give it to me, man. I'm gonna throw my fucking mug on the floor the minute I leave here.
I think one of the things is I think sea levels would rise, which would, like, lead to a lot of floods. Again, don't know. But yeah, tough topic. I think it's, but it's in the news a lot, and I think it's, is it something we should know more about? Is it, if it's as big an issue as they're saying, the biggest issue facing our generation, should we sit here ignorant and not know enough about it?
You know, give me some foreplay.
Yeah.
Give me a little, like, show me something. Show me, I want to see something on that phone. I want to see a news article where I'm like, we better act, like, let's get prepped. No one
Have
wants to
you
be
looked at
wasting our time. Have I looked? I looked all week, mate.
it? Yeah.
Nah, I haven't looked, but I don't need to look because I heard about it anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know
No,
what I
no,
mean?
no, no, yeah.
But no, I mean, it's just that, like, what were these idiots lying in the road for in England?
There's a couple of groups, but one of them I think was called Insulate Britain.
And then you see Dave from fucking Bristol
Drive
start dragging people out there, and they do it so annoyingly. You dragged one, and then
the
they
others
flop
drive.
themselves down another one in a little high vis, and then they just have that aura. You know, certain people, like certain occults.
You gotta look at someone and say,
Yeah, he's part of that.
that makes sense.
That makes sense. He's one of them, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, they have that, man, and I just don't know what's going on. And you get people getting ripped off by their rucksacks. You're stopping me from going to work. I got a 4-year-old.
Yeah,
I've got to get him to school, and it's just like,
It's crazy. It's
what are you doing? What are you stopping? Like, they're annoyed at these corporations, right?
No, so basically they're I only know a little bit about Insulate Britain, but they were trying to force the government, I think, to invest in insulating a lot of the old homes throughout Britain, because they said that that would have a massive impact, I think, on energy leakage in houses, which means people would be using less electricity, stuff like that. And I think they
What? So if you put stuff in
yeah,
the walls, yeah,
insulate like the walls,
they can use less
attic.
heating because the heat remains within the house.
Exactly, yeah, and they think it was like a really effective way to cut carbon emissions and save people money, and they wanted the government to fund it. And obviously, I don't think they made any progress. So someone said, let's ramp this up a
Yeah,
bit."
but they do it in the most wacky and controversial ways as well.
It's
Like
just-
going to try throw fucking paint over the Mona Lisa or the
Oh yeah, that
Van
one I
Gogh
don't
painting.
get. Yeah,
It's like, what are you doing? It just makes you look a bit disturbed and delusional, and no one wants to listen to you now. So if you did have a message to portray, you've just done it in a completely wrong
and
way.
you've alienated all of the people that you're trying to get on side.
Yes,
Without
yeah.
that, it was the same with that Extinction Rebellion. Remember when they were jumping on trains so the trains couldn't leave and stuff like that? It was like, even if I think what you're trying to do is a good thing in terms of your overall like objective, if you're stopping me from getting to work, or me, like I've got to try and get my kids somewhere or that, I'm not on board. I don't really want to hear what you have to say. I'm not interested, you know?
No, exactly. You've done it in such a aggravating and annoying way that now every time I hear about you and your little cult, I'm just gonna
associate stupid things that people keep doing.
Exactly.
But again, I've watched an interview with a guy and he's like, the planet's more important than your inconvenience or something. He's like, he's a part of the group.
Easy to say.
Easy to say, yeah. That's what he tries to say. He's like, you not getting to work on time is less important. But
but the consequence of me not getting to work on time is me getting told off, mate. Like, nothing else has changed in the world at all.
Yeah.
You lying in the road and stop me from going to work. Like, you haven't gone anywhere. You haven't achieved anything. Like, you haven't climbed far enough off the ladder to complete the objective of what you think in your head you're completing.
But to be fair, I knew about them. I knew about what they were trying to do. I would never have known that if they hadn't have done. I'd have never looked into it if I hadn't seen Dave lying in the street with Sheila blocking the M22 or whatever it was.
Yeah, but I know about it. I don't know what their objectives are.
Yeah.
So I know
you'd seen it.
Yeah, I know who they are. Great. I know who fucking loads of people are.
Yeah.
I don't know what you want. I don't know what you want. Like, you're just in the road, mate.
Yeah.
It seems so. It's just
silly,
and it's getting more out of hand. Like, I guess it's a little bit entertaining if you're not part of it.
Sitting on the outside looking in, just
it's gonna be some seething beat. Obviously, they won't watch this shit. But how dare you?
Yeah, if you're part of Insulate Britain and you want to come on the podcast,
we'll zoom you in. Oh man,
you can enlighten us. Right.
You can lie there.
Climate. You can block the door. So climate change, put it to bed.
Put it to bed, mate. That's my opinion. I don't know what's going on. I don't feel any more knowledgeable than I did at the start of the week. Obviously, the way we're talking, me and you, we're not commenting from perspective like we know anything, do we?
No,
We just want to sit, chat about it, see what we can come up with, see what we can come to, what we can both bring to the table from our own individual sort of research. And if people want to like listen to that, then they can. Which this is what I like about our conversation we spoke about in the week. We don't come from a perspective of like these professionals that know what we're talking about. We're here to just like converse and
exactly.
engage in a sort of open conversation with some back and forth while we're trying to learn. You know, and hopefully like people that are listening are learning too, because you know, to go straight to like the podcast we watch, the YouTube videos we watch of these, you know, professionals, it's a lot to take in, man.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it's just a different way of coming at these topics, isn't it?
Precisely that.
Right. So,
what are we doing? We're doing our little
unpopular opinion.
Yeah. Last week it was holding hands in public. And this week, what's it gonna be, mate?
So this week's is yeah, we needed an intro song for this segment. Okay, unpopular opinion. Friends,
the
TV show, brackets, and all sitcoms.
Yep.
Are terrible.
Yeah, so I could die on this hill and happily say that I fucking hate them.
Same.
And I always have. I find no
agreement. Yeah.
Is The Office a sitcom?
I thought about this. I think it's a mockumentary, which is a different style of show.
I'll go with that. 100% is. I've said this for years and I've seen other people start to say it, but I started this, all right? I was the catalyst behind this opinion, okay? Laughing tracks over anything is weird.
It's so unnerving. Like, it's just horrible.
Because if you have any sort of like knowledge about you, you can cue it. 3, 2, 1, ha 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 ha. 3, 2, 1, ha 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 ha. Like, it's so obvious when it's literally about to be executed that it just takes you out of the TV show. And their jokes are just the most like mundane joke. I don't find Big Bang Theory shit. Friends. Yeah.
Oh, don't. Big Bang Theory, you couldn't pay me to watch that.
No. Friends, I'd never got it. I feel like unless you were left in front of a TV when you were 10 and like neglectfully just put there to watch the TV and you watch Friends growing up, then you have some sort of like admiration for it, or you sat down with your cute little family on the sofa on Sunday nights and watch Friends, then you probably like it now. Yeah, that's the only thing. But I never watched any. I never seen it. I've never
and
seen
the ones I've watched are just
till this year.
Yeah, I do not find. I've seen it like it's been on over Christmas or whatever. When you watch an episode, the humor, it's like a type of humor in those sitcoms, and it's just the worst type of humor. It's not funny. It's is it cringe? Like the word,
it is cringy. It makes me actually feel like hollow inside. Doesn't fill me with no joy. There's nothing like funny about it, and it's all just through dialogue, isn't it?
Yeah, there's Jerry Seinfeld. Have you ever watched the Seinfeld?
Yeah,
that's the same bracket. It was like I think it was like the biggest show ever, and it's that style. And I just never understood how people enjoyed it. So maybe not an unpopular opinion.
Well, it's 100% in this room, mate.
100%. We'll find out.
Yeah, let us know, like, if you think Friends is super overrated, along with like all the other things. You can watch this like spooky video on the internet that just seems so eerie. It's just like without the laugh track. So they pause. Complete silence for like 4 seconds before they start again. And I was just thinking, to do that as an actual actor, it'd just be
a little bit. You know, little trivia. Bit of trivia knowledge.
Jennifer Aniston wasn't in it. Nobody else would watch it.
No, but that's definitely true. You know, that the laughing people, they're all dead.
Yeah,
it was recorded in like I think like the 1920s or something, and most of them are dead. They're all dead.
What's the need in it?
It's just part of that style, isn't it? It's like almost like some of them are filmed in front of live audiences.
Do you think it was manipulation? Like if they heard people laughing, they'll laugh as well.
I imagine it's part of it. Yeah, definitely.
Psychology, man. Back in the day, it's some amateur psychology.
Yeah,
we can see through now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would. I'd never watch Friends.
No, we're in agreement.
Good. Sound, I think that's a wrap, man.
We'll wrap it up. Nice one, mate.
No worries.